Thank you very much, and good morning. Very excited to be here, back in person, a live event, which I think something that we've all been waiting for very eagerly. My name is Jordan Deemer. I lead the end user channel in the UK. So what does that mean? I'm out talking to businesses, talking to customers, talking to users, finding out what's going on, how people want to work and what they want to do. And I'm here to share our research with you and provide our outlook on that post-COVID workplace. That word that we're not allowed to use, COVID. So 2020 sparked one of the biggest changes when it comes to the workplace. For me personally, somebody that regularly goes out 4-5 times a week, out in person to customers, I was chained inside, working remotely, along with many other businesses. I had to find out how I then started to work, what was my new normal, which led to a lot of our research that we did in October of 2020. We had to find new balances as to how we were going to do our day-to-day runnings of our companies, of our businesses, of our own roles. We found that generally employees wanted to be working majority from home, 2 days a week. Everybody became accustomed to what was then the hybrid meeting. And what does that mean? Well, that means some people, yes, were in the office, but a lot of the virtual participants as well, a lot of people joining remotely. Planned and structured meetings became the absolute norm. There was no spontaneity anymore. There was a strict schedule and a strict agenda. Everything was in 30-minute slots and hour slots, and the mobile phone calls seemed to disappear. It was definitely the year of the laptop, which was definitely the preferred way of hosting and working, with usability and user experience being the key to that. People knowing how to use their own device and knowing what they want to do to work. So touching back 5 months later, going from October then to April, we went back out and did this research again. Another touch point as to what's going on in our workplace, in our community. So we went out to 8 different regions, over 1,000 users, meaning the people actually using the rooms, as well as a whole host of different age groups. And we found 5 key trends that seem to be cropping up across all business aspects. So let's touch on trend number 1. Office optimism returns, and it's something that I'm very happy about. What we're seeing is that actually, to our surprise, 50% of people were back in the office to some capacity, whether that's 1 day a week, 2 days a week, working back in full time. But even more of an optimistic stat is that actually 94% of people are due to be back into the office this year, which is fantastic. But then what was driving people back into the office? Well, of course, business leaders wanted us to be there. 2 out of 3 CEOs were urging users, urging customers to come back into the office, as well as 56% of people wanting to get back into the office. Of course, 40% of managers were pressuring, saying, come on guys, get back in. But what was the actual required amount? Well, we were seeing employees typically wanted to go from 3 days to 3.5 days in the office, a real positive shift. And obviously reflecting that 2 days or 1.5 days at home, finding that new balance of how they wanted to work. There's many reasons for this, but a big statement that you're about to hear, which you may not have heard, is meetings have got worse. Now, ultimately, there is that Zoom fatigue, Teams fatigue, people getting tired of endless meetings all day, every day. And at Barco, we use the meeting barometer, sometimes known as the Barco barometer, to actually measure how meetings are going with our users. In 2019, people were engaged, people were enthusiastic. We had this score of plus 63. Everybody was getting everything they wanted out of meetings in a very flexible, a very dynamic environment. Come 2020, we then see that score to go down to plus 17, that first red flag to say, actually, meetings are decreasing. People aren't as engaged, aren't as happy. And come 2021, we've seen a score of minus 25, a big red flag, meetings are getting worse. So why is that? What's going on? What's happening? Well, half the people feel that remote collaboration doesn't come naturally to them. They don't feel comfortable. They don't feel like actually from the other side, they're getting the engagement they want. They miss sitting here, reading what's being said on other people's faces, getting the emotion of what's going on. Which brings us on to our third trend. What we're seeing is less virtual, more face-to-face, and ultimately more hybrid meetings coming through. Is the search for better meetings driving us back to the office? Well, looking at some of the key data here, in 2019, face-to-face meetings were up to about 47%. There was a nice spread of virtual and a nice spread of remote, which then come 2020, we saw a complete flip. Up on that right-hand side, remote meetings at an all-time high, which is driving us through. Come back to this year, we're seeing that nice transition back towards the office, and we're seeing that picking up. But what we predict in the future is actually those face-to-face meetings being at an all-time high. But there is some resilience to that. We're finding our new balance, our new way of working, and what works for us. 1 in 2 of us actually drive back into the office or travel back into the office to host meetings, whether that's because of dynamic technology in there, whether that's because of the professional environment, whether that's because it's away from distractions. There's still a need to go in and host in that space. But it also depends on the activity. When there's just a routine of exchange of information, a one-to-many, well, there's a big requirement that this doesn't necessarily need to be in person. It can be remote, it can be virtual, but as we start to get more and more personable when it comes to giving feedback, when it comes to showing personal concern, well, there's more of a requirement to have that emotive element, to have that in-person feel. And then certainly when it comes to building trust, building relationships, people are seeing that most requirement to be face-to-face. In fact, 60% of people prefer a one-to-one to be face-to-face, to be stood in front of somebody. Now, this also comes with the participants in play as well. Ultimately, we're still living in the pandemic. There is still that reluctancy to have a group of 10, 15, 20 people in one space. It's not something we're totally used to just yet. But as meetings decline in size, in numbers, we're seeing that increase of face-to-face versus virtual and versus remote. Now, it's not just us saying this. We work with a lot of different partners, and Logitech is a key alliance partner for us. Let's listen to what Sadoup's got to say on this matter.
What we are hearing from customers is on any given day, anywhere from 30 to 70% of your employees could be working from home, could be working remotely. So when you have that sort of mix, that there are people who want to be in the office face to face, yet there are some on any given day who are remote. So how do you create that environment where the people that are remote don't feel like second-class citizens, right? So you're providing those equitable, inclusive sort of experiences for people wherever they are, whether they're huddling together in a room or remotely. And that's where technologies in the meeting room can come in as well.
Technology is so important in that space. Engagement is such an important part of any meeting, any discussion, any talk. And it's about providing that equality to say the people that are in room and the people that are virtual are getting that same experience. They feel like they're not watching a discussion, but they're part of a discussion. So this brings us on to our fourth trend in what we're seeing about that big technology challenge, which is preference for BYOM soars. Now, I think you've all heard of BYOD, bring your own device. BYOM is actually a phrase that Barco coined a little while ago, meaning bring your own meeting. Using your laptop, using your device of choice, bringing that Teams call, that Zoom call, that Google call, that WebEx, bringing that preference with you. And why is that? Well, for over 1 billion people, the Windows PC is their connection to the world from Microsoft's CPO. And actually 3/4 of people couldn't imagine working without their laptop anymore. I know for me personally, if I haven't got my laptop, I'm not at work because that's everything goes through. But it was the window for the world for much more than that. For the last 18 months, that's how we're connecting to family. That was our Netflix device. That was how we were just keeping entertaining, keeping connected with everybody. When we went out to our community, to our research and said, how would you prefer to host your video calls, assuming all technology was available in the office? Of course, with multiple choice options, there was a massive preference for 71% being with the laptop. Well, why is that? For the last 18 months, that's what everybody knows, what everybody's accustomed to. When we come back to user experience, it's what people know best. Which brings us on to our fifth trend, and final trend, don't worry. The employee-centric workplace. Keeping users, keeping employees at the core of the business, which is something Barco's always focused on when it comes to innovation and when it comes to technology. The meeting room takes a central stage in the new workplace. What does this mean? Well, when people are transitioning back to the office, people aren't coming to isolate at a desk. They want to come in and back and immerse in collaboration, in culture, in meeting other people. And the meeting rooms are going to be so crucial for that. In fact, 60% of people believe so. But what's going to be crucial about those meetings is making sure they're equipped with the right technologies, Sudeep said. Yes, people are going to be coming back into the office, but not everybody's going to be back in the office. There's going to be that mix of in-room and hybrid, and you need an environment which can allow for that technology, but also in a way that is easy to use. 80% of people believe easy-to-use technology can make for a better meeting, which is a big challenge. It needs to be able to work. I want to walk into a space and get connected and start my discussion, start working with my colleagues and collaborating, not face challenges on how to get there. So we need to find a new way to do that, and we need technology that allows for that, which is why I'd like to introduce ClickShare from Barco and meet that new meeting room space. I need to be a bit careful because they're getting very good, and the better those videos become, the less there is a need for me, but hopefully I'll still keep my value here. Let's talk about ClickShare, which is a way for you to come in and lead that wireless collaboration experience. I think for those of you that know ClickShare, you already have some idea of what we do, but for those that don't, we offer a product where you can come in using a USB dongle or using an app with full flexibility, either connect to your meeting room or connect to your VC technology using either the wireless present range or the ClickShare conference range. Of course, this is all backed up with enterprise-grade security, central management, full analytics, and an eco-friendly, sustainable product, which is something that we believe in a lot. For more information on ClickShare, come and have a chat with us around here. I want to keep this really around what the thoughts are around the post-COVID workplace, and this is our view. There's no going back. The way we worked is changed forever, and we're no longer going to slog every in-person meeting, and the virtual meeting has its shortcomings too. Instead, we're going for something better than both. We call it hybrid, a seamless blend of the physical and virtual world, of in-office and remote. The future of work powered by ClickShare. Now, all the information and all the technologies and all the trends that I've shared with you today can be found on our website, www.barco.com. And whilst you're there, you have the option for a trial with ClickShare and a try and buy method, which means you can test this for yourself. Put it into your office, put it into your workplace and collaboration spaces, and see if these trends apply to you and see what happens there. Great things happen when people click. Thank you.